Okay, Mr. Bailey, so tell me about your childhood. How did your beginnings influence who you are today?
Wow, it's a good question. I think my childhood has everything to do with the music aspect of what I'm doing now because I was born to a musical family. My mom played piano, my father sang and acted, and my siblings, my sisters are all instrumentalists, playing piano and violin and saxophone and things like that. They're all writers, they're all artsy-fartsy, very talented people, so it was kind of strange growing up in that environment because it was different than a lot of my peer group. So I didn't really fit in a lot of times. I have a lot of idiosyncrasies. For example, I'm not into sports at all. No hate to those that like sports, but it's just not something I was exposed to as a child. I grew up with things like metaphysics and Mario Lanza and jazz and stuff like that. So though I kind of hated certain parts of my childhood at the time because it didn't fit in. For example, Saturday cartoons. You get up in the morning, you got the weekend, you watch cartoons. Not me. I was at Temple University taking music lessons for years during those hours. So I missed out on a whole lot of cartoons. So now I like cartoons. I'm catching up. Also, summers off, same thing. You had the summer to play and go to camp and regular camp and all of that. Well, I went to camp, but it was always music camp. And so there was still, I just couldn't escape music. So the end result is now that I'm older, now I value all of those things that I was exposed to. And the end result is the culmination of Red Room recording.
Cool. So where do you find inspiration, musically and otherwise?
Inspiration from that same group of people that I was raised with. All of my siblings and everybody that has sought out to do what they wanted to do is successful in their own right. Whether it be in being degreed and educated or starting their own business and that sort of thing. So that's one aspect of it. Also, I think I'm just old-spirited ever since I was a child, instead of wanting to go out really, because that wasn't my thing, But I saw value in spending my time making money. Not that money is the end-all be-all, but it's the vehicle through which you can do whatever it is that you want to do. So inspiration comes from a lot of people that I hang out with that are successful in their own right. Business owners, doctors, lawyers, firemen, pilots, whatever. All successful, and we all kind of feed off each other. Musically, my inspiration, that's a tough one to answer, especially right now, this very second, because I have recently been made aware of some things going on in the music industry that is kind of changing my opinion of some of the people that were my inspiration. So I'll not name names, but I'll say that the mainframe or the matrix that was utilized at one point is something that I find intriguing enough to inspire me to duplicate it. And I will mention that model that I think works so effectively and successfully is the Motown model. And that's something that I'm trying to reinvigorate and try to bring back now, but on the East Coast, an East Coast based Motown.
Okay. Do you have any favorite artists, and who would you most like to meet?
Wow. Favorite artist. I'm a very eclectic person, so I do have favorite artists. They don't necessarily have anything to do with the genre of business that I do business with, or that we as an entity do business with. But I'm a fan of Jean Duponte, jazz violinist, perhaps the best jazz violinist in the world. I'm musically very, very far right if there's a right and a left, depending on how you look at it. But there are listeners that zone in on lyricism, and there are listeners that zone in on production. I'm very production biased, so I like musical artists. So Jean LaPonte is probably at the top of the list. If you wanted to ask me about the rap game right now, Eminem. In fact, just a little tidbit, little side note, I have rarely do I purchase industry music. Largely because I find that it's like fast food. It's like a number 3 supersize. I ate, but 2 hours from now, I don't remember what I ate. But I ate something. I just can't. It's not memorable. It's very, very disposable. However, especially in the rap genre, I really like Eminem. And he's the only artist that I have supported, I say, in the last 5 years. I have all of his latest albums of the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay, tell us about Head First in Red Room.
Wow, that's a really long story. I'll give you the short version. Head First itself was all accidental. It came about because I was unemployed as a result of 9/11. I got laid off from Coletta Air, which is a privately owned cargo airline. And at that time, the airline experienced a takeover by a bigger company, and we all got laid off. And then, subsequently, the whole 9/11 thing happened, and aviation in and of itself was changed. So I was on the street for a while, and I started working at a nightclub, and that evolved into me being their marketing director. And part of that job, I had to look at talent. People would approach the club owners to use their venue to showcase their talent. So I would have to screen the talent to see if they would be a good fit for the venue. So that evolved further into managing artists. You know, well, what do we need? What are the, what points can you give us? Why didn't you select us? Why did you select us? What do we do right? What do we do wrong? And it was kind of natural. But then I decided at some point that I didn't just want to be a music manager, because all the managers that I knew or know are kind of shady. And again, I'm not mentioning names, but ice cream suit wearing, stogie in the mouth, derby, carrying a briefcase, ready to sign you right now, and they haven't heard 2 notes. I think that I personally am far more capable than just that. So the management aspect evolved quickly, rapidly, into an independent label mindset, if nothing else. We didn't really have a location in the beginning. This has been going on for about 10 years now. Yeah, this is the 10th year. So what happened was I did have some commercial real estate, and that was kind of the first litmus test, and it went well. But it was a, what do you call it, a collaborative effort. It was 2 other entities involved, and the end result is that it just didn't work out business-wise. So I retreated for a few years, tried some other business ventures, and then there's that saying, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. So I said, wait a minute, I have this huge house in the middle of the city on the East Coast, right in the epicenter of all of the music stuff that's going on the East Coast. Why not just do it right here? So I decided to do it in this location that we're in now, Red Room Recordings. And it took about 2 years to construct, and it was all done grassroots, working from the muscle, as we say.
Okay. How far is your reach, and how far is your reach, and how far have you come since you started?
Wow. Well, our reach is really far. I think you're only as strong as your strongest member. you know, with your organization. So in this case, simply by virtue of what I do for a living, you know, as a professional aviator, I've been traveling internationally for years. So with that comes an inherent matrix of people that you know, family, businesses, that sort of thing, routines, such that I have been blessed to be able to drop music off all over the world. So the reach is global at this point. I haven't really been aggressive about pushing a button and really infiltrating that network, but case in point, a great example, and I didn't expect it. Raina Williams, who I've been working with for a number of years, was on X Factor. Great. I didn't even know she was going to be on X Factor. I got an email. I'm on her list, on her fan club list, and I sent that out. And when the show aired, long story short, I got emails and phone calls from all over the world. Hey, is that girl Raina? Is that girl Raina? Hey, I got this email. Raina said this. Wow. So, yeah, you know, Shaka Pitts has a saying that your network is your net worth. And in this case, we are sitting on a mint. We just haven't printed the money yet.
What do you see as your role, and what's your greatest strength?
My role, okay, that question is really specific enough. I'll assume that you mean my role in this.
Yes, what did you see as your role?
As my role and my strength. I think my strength is leadership. Definitely proactive leadership. Somebody asked me a question one time about, well, you know, what is your dream? I don't have time to dream, because if you're dreaming, then that means you're sleeping. And I'm definitely not one of those people. And this goes back to another question about the name Head First. Head First actually came, the name came from a friend of mine. His name is Alandis Reeves. And Alandis and I go back to 1985 when I first started I joined the Air Force. And I was stationed at Dover Air Force Base. And Alandis is from Indianapolis, Indiana. And he's a little bit older than me, maybe 8-10 years older than me. And just after experiencing my personality, he said, you know what, man, you are head first. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, just your attitude is head first. He said, there could be something going on over there, and we're standing over here, and you would be the guy to go over there and get hit in the head with a brick or something and come back and say, oh man, don't go over there, you get hit in the head with a brick. But you're also the same guy that'll go over there and say, hey, everybody, y'all need to come over here, this is cool. And it made sense. It made sense when he broke it down. I'm a very pioneering spirit, I guess. I'm, you know, a risk taker, not a gambler. I don't like rolling dice. I definitely like to control the outcome. So I would call myself a hustler to a degree. It's just a different product. Same cake, different baker. My strength is the ability to do that on the fly and do it well and be able to learn on the fly. Again, that kind of falls back to what I do for a living. Flying airplanes, you know, most people think about a trip from Philadelphia, you get in a plane, you take off, you fly to Atlanta, you descend, you land, you get off the plane. That's what you're supposed to think as a consumer. As an operator, I'm thinking we're going to take off, have a catastrophic engine failure at the critical moment of takeoff, maybe not be able to turn around and go back because the airport has bad weather. So maybe we're too heavy to land somewhere else. We have to dump fuel. I mean, I'm always planning for the worst case scenario. Anything better than that happens is a bonus.
Awesome. So where do you want to go from here?
To the top. Well, I don't know about quite the top, because as I've learned today that there are some costs way at the top. I'm not trying to be on MTV Cribs or Pimp My Rides or anything like that. If I could pretty much match the income that I make now by working a regular 9 to 5, then for me that is successful. Ultimately, my goal is not to make a cash load of money. That's not what it's about. It's about making history, because history is timeless. So for me, I'm also a fan of creating timeless music so that it's not fast food.
Awesome.
That's it for the questions.
That's it for the questions.
Alrighty then. Bye-bye now.
I'll sign off. We'll be seeing you.